last several months. It's not for sale, won't be for sale ever.
Ever.
But the opportunity is in the partner.
Y'all see how he slipped that in? Ever, but he slick. Carney, you slick. You's a slickster, boy. You slipped that ever in real smoothly. Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Listen, Carney and Trump finally meets up. Let's see what's going on. Looks like Carney told Trump Canada won't be for sale ever. With that 51st state nonsense he keeps trying to push on Canada. But anyway, let's watch this. I haven't seen it. Let's watch this and see what's going on. Let me know where you're chiming in from. All my Canadians out there, man. What's up with you guys? Hope everybody's doing well. Everybody, not just my Canadian friends, but I know I have a lot of new Canadian subscribers, and I'd like to thank you guys for subscribing. Besides that, let's get into this video.
Thank you for your hospitality and above all for your leadership. You're a transformational president. Focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker, securing your borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids, and securing the world. And I've been elected with my colleagues here, with the help of my colleagues here. I'm going to spread the credit to transform Canada with a similar focus on the economy, securing our borders, again on fentanyl, much greater focus on defense and security, securing the Arctic and developing the Arctic.
Fentanyl is crazy.
And the history of Canada and the U.S. is we're stronger when we work together, and there's many opportunities to work together. And I look forward to, addressing some of those issues that we have, but also finding those areas of mutual cooperation so we can move forward.
That's great. Very nice. Thank you very much. It's a very nice statement. I have a lot of respect for this man, and I watched him come up, in a sense, through the ranks when he wasn't given much of a chance, and he ran a really great campaign. He did a really great debate. I think the debate was very helpful. I was going to raise my hand, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I shouldn't say that. That might hurt you. But no, he ran a really great election, I thought. And yeah, something could happen. Something could happen. Yeah, please. Concession?
Yes.
Friendship.
That's not a concession.
We're going to be friends with Canada. Regardless of anything, we're going to be friends with
That's
Canada.
not a concession.
Canada is a very special place
Come on.
to me. I know so many people that live in Canada. My parents had relatives that lived in Canada, my mother in particular. And no, I love Canada. I have a lot of respect for the Canadians. Wayne Gretzky, how good, the great one. You happen to have a very, very good hockey player right here on the Capitals, who I have a lot of. He is a big, tough cookie, too. Just broke the record.
A big, tough cookie. This dude is hilarious.
We had the team here, and I got to know a lot of the players.
Wayne Gretzky.
But now, Canada is a very special place. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, Mr. President, I'd like to get your response to this too. Mr. President, you have said that Canada should become the 51st state.
Yeah. No. Well, I still believe.
Hey, man, why you bringing up that?
It takes two to tango, right? But no, I do. I mean, I believe it would be a massive tax cut for the Canadian citizens. You get free military, you get tremendous medical cares and other things. There would be a lot of advantages, but it would be a massive tax cut. And it's also a beautiful, as a real estate developer, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person, but when I looked at that beauty, I said, that's the way it was meant to be. But, I do feel it's much better for Canada, but we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway, because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think it would really be a wonderful marriage, because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now.
That's right, baby.
Palace that you visited
That's
as well.
right.
That's true.
And having met with
Let 'em
the
know.
owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever.
Ever.
But the opportunity is in the partner.
Y'all see how he slipped that in? Ever, but he slick. Carney, you slick. You's a slickster, boy. You slipped that ever in real smoothly.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. We have done that in the past, and part of that, as the president just said, is with respect to our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership, and I'll say this as well, that the president has revitalized international security, revitalized NATO, and us playing our full weight in NATO, and that will be part
That's
of it.
true. And they have, I must say, Canada is stepping up the military participation because Mark knew, they were low and now they're stepping it up, and that's a very important thing. But never say never. Never say never.
What would it take to get the tariffs off of Canada?
Well, we'll be talking about different things. Look, we want to protect our automobile business, and so does Mark. But we want to make the automobiles, and we want to, we have a tremendous abundance of energy, more than any country. We have, just in Alaska alone, Anwar has been reopened now. Anwar is probably the largest find anywhere in the world. They say it's larger than Saudi Arabia. I don't know, but it's a lot. But we have tremendous amounts of energy. Other countries don't. We're both lucky in that way. They have energy, we have energy. We have more than we can ever use and more than we could ever sell, actually, and you have the same thing. So we're two countries that are very lucky. If you look at China, they don't have that. It's a big disadvantage. Other countries, most countries don't have. Most countries don't have that. So Canada and us, we have a lot of advantages over other places.
When you consider what Mr. Carney just said, that Canada is not for sale, does this make the
Oh, this
discussion
dude.
a little more difficult to start on?
No, not at all. No, not at all. No, time will tell. It's only time. But I say never say never. I've had many things that were not doable, and they ended up being doable, and only doable in a very friendly way. But if it's to everybody's benefit, Canada loves us, and we love Canada. That's, I think.
But they
the
want to
number
stay
one thing
independent,
that's
man.
important.
Come on, bro.
But we'll see. I mean, over time.
We hear you talking, but man, Canada wants to stay independent. Stop trying to push this narrative of them being the 51st state. They don't want it, man. He said never, ever. He let you know. So let's stop with this talk. Move forward, do other business, but this 51st state, just leave it alone. Dang. And then these interviews, they keep pushing, they keep asking these silly ass questions. Bro, you just talked about the 51st state. Now you want to reiterate the same thing. Leave it alone. Let it go.
We'll see what happens.
Is the U.S. prepared to walk away from that pact?
From what pact?
USMCA.
No, it's fine. It's there. It's good. We use it for certain things. It's there. We have the USMCA is a good deal for everybody.
What is USMC?
I won't say this about Mark, but I didn't like his predecessor. I didn't like a person that worked for. She was terrible, actually. She was a terrible person. And she really hurt that deal very badly because she tried to take advantage of the deal and she didn't get away with it. You know what I'm talking about. But we had a bad relationship having to do with the fact that we disagreed with the way they viewed the deal, and we ended it. We ended that relationship pretty much. The USMCA is great for all countries. It's good for all countries. We do have a negotiation coming up over the next year or so to adjust it or terminate it.
Mr. President.
I'll say a word on USMCA if I may, Mr. President. It is a basis for a broader negotiation. Some things about it are going to have to change. And part of the way you've conducted these tariffs has taken advantage of existing aspects of USMCA. So it's going to have to change. There's other elements that are come, and that's part of what we're going to discuss.
Right.
During the campaign, Prime Minister Carney talked about the American betrayal. How do you react if Canada decided not to shop in the American store as much as before and decided to partner with other countries?
Well, we don't do much business with Canada from our standpoint. They do a lot of business with us. We're at like 4%. And usually those things don't last very long. You know, we have great things, great product. The kind of product we sell, nobody else can sell, including military. Look, we make the best military equipment in the world, and Canada buys our military equipment, which we appreciate. But we make the best military equipment in the world by far. The missiles, the submarines, everything. Everything we have is really top notch. I rebuilt our military during our last term. Stupidly, we gave some away to Afghanistan, which shouldn't have happened. But that was, I think it was the most...
Trump is too arrogant, bro. You're too arrogant, man. You don't have to say that. You didn't even have to say, well, Canada does business with us. We don't do business with... Man, what is that? You're too arrogant. Come on, man. That's not even like... Bro, and especially with the friendship that America and Canada has, yeah, we do business with one another. We don't need to point out for the percentage and all that. That's irrelevant, man. That's great. Come on, man. This is just disappointing the way he speaks.
Embarrassing moment in the history of our country. It was just a very incompetent people. But if you look, the man that's now the head of our Joint Chiefs, he led the attack on ISIS for me. That's why he's the head of the Joint Chiefs. And Raising Cane, he was unbelievable. And as you know, we defeated ISIS in 3 weeks. It was supposed to take 5 years. We did it in 3 weeks. And he ran the campaign. I said, I like him. But I knew him before. I went to Iraq, and we agreed to a plan, and that was the plan. And as you know, we did it in record time. So we have the best equipment in the world. We have the best, a lot of things. And but Canada, it does a lot more business with us than we do with Canada. Yeah.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, what changes would you like to see to the USMCA? What changes would you like to make?
We're going to work on some subtle changes, maybe. I don't even know if we're going to be dealing with the USMCA. We're dealing more with concepts right now. Look, right now, we're doing trade. We have trade. They're paying a tariff on cars and steel and aluminum. And I think we have a baseline of 10% or something like that for the tariffs. But we're getting along very well. Right now, going no further, but we have an agreement. We did something with even parts. You want to discuss that, Howard, with respect to Canada, which helps Canada out?
Sure. So we've made an arrangement with the car companies that 15% of their USMCA parts are included, and then 15% of foreign parts from the manufactured suggested retail price are not tariffed to help domestic manufacturing really thrive.
So it gave them a chance to be able to build their car parts factories if they're going to. A lot of these companies already have factories, and what they have to do is just fill them out. But they're able to build them in the United States, so we gave them a pretty substantial period of time.
Just to clarify, Mr. President, is there anything the Prime Minister can say to you today to change your mind on tariffing Canada?
Tariffing cars?
Tariffing Canada. Is there anything he could say to you in the course of your meetings with him today that would get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
What's
Yeah.
the first state?
Yeah.
If Canadians don't want it, would you respect that?
Sure, I would. But this is not necessarily a one-day deal. This is over a period of time they have to make that decision. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may. If respectfully, Canadians' view on this is not going to change on the 51st state. Secondly, we are the largest client of the United States in the totality of all the goods. So we are the largest client of the United States. We have a tremendous auto sector between the two of us, and the changes that made have been helpful. 50% of a car that comes from Canada is American. That's not like anywhere else in the world. And to your question about is there one thing? No, this is a bigger discussion. There are much bigger forces involved. And this will take some time and some discussions, and that's why we're here, to have those discussions, and that is represented by who's sitting around the table.
See, the conflict is, and this is very friendly. We're not. This is not going to be like we had another little blow up with somebody else. That was a much different. This is a very friendly conversation, but we want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada, and we put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel, and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things because we want to be able to do it ourselves. And we, because of past thinking of people, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. In other words, they have a surplus with us. And there's no reason for us to be subsidizing Canada. Canada's a place that will have to be able to take care of itself economically. I assume they can. I will tell you that Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election. But when I spoke to him, I said, so why are we taking your cars? Why are we taking we want to make them ourselves. I mean, I said, and if the price of your cars went up, or if we put a tariff on your cars of 25%, what would that mean to you? He said, that would mean the end of Canada. He actually said that to me. And I said, that's a strange answer, but I understand his answer. But
is that true?
No, I mean, it's hard to justify subsidizing Canada to the tune of maybe $200 billion a year. We protect Canada militarily, and we always will. We're not going to, that's not a money thing. But we always will. But, it's not fair. But why are we subsidizing Canada $200 billion a year, or whatever the number might be? It's a very substantial number. And it's hard for the American taxpayer to say, gee whiz, we love doing that. Thank you very much. We're going to have a very substantial. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, we have been watching
he didn't want to let Carney say
a
nothing.
Q&A session with the President of the United States and the new Prime Minister from Canada, Mark Carney, talking about a lot of issues, but I do maybe want to start where that left off, because despite the fact that the two men, and frankly the two governments and countries, particularly Canada, have been very rhetorically aggressive towards one another, particularly with regard to this trade war that is going on. At the beginning, it was extremely cordial, really almost throughout the entire thing. Then at the end, you did see and hear President Trump start to get and give more jabs, talking about the fact that the United States doesn't need Canadian goods, doesn't need to have cars from Canada. And if you can see right there, the body language.
Nah, hold on.
From and by.
He didn't say they didn't need it. He said that he wanted America to build their own stuff. He said he don't want to get the steel and aluminum from Canada. He wants to build the steel and aluminum in America. He didn't say he didn't need Canada. He said he wants to build the stuff so he won't need Canada for those things. That's what he said. Lady, you're putting 10 on 2.
The Canadian Prime Minister, he was not happy. And then the president ended the session, and now they're going to go behind closed doors, and we can only imagine how that conversation is going to go. I want to bring in CNN's Kevin Liptak and Paula Newton. They are both at the White House today. And Paula, I do want to start with you, because if I am in Canada watching my new prime minister, who got elected largely because he said, President Trump, back off, hear him say not once but twice, we're not going to be the 51st state. I can tell you right now that Canadians spoke in this election, and it's not going to happen. I'm sure they will be pleased by that, maybe less pleased by the lecture on economics that we just heard from President Trump at the end of that session?
Listen, Dana, you hit it right on the head there. The issue is here in terms of tone. Look, this was completely different, not just from what President Trump had been saying really for months, but also from the election campaign of Mark Carney. And he had a very strident campaign and had harsh words for the president. They sat there in the Oval Office, couldn't be more cordial, right? What's that issue now? Substance. And in terms of substance, these two countries remain very far apart. Just fact-checking a couple of things. In terms of the ripping off of Canada, it is true Canada gets a lot from the relationship with the United States. But the Prime Minister, Carney, tried to interject there and say, point blank, Canada is the largest purchaser of American goods, period.
Be grateful.
Full stop. And that's why not too far from here on Capitol Hill, down which you know all too well, there have been both Democratic and Republican politicians saying that to the White House loud and clear. Why? Because in severing that trade relationship with the United States, it will hurt both Democratic and Republican states. That's point number one. I think it is a message loud and clear to any other nation trying to do negotiations here at this White House that this president is sticking to what he thinks about these trade deals. He said, okay, sure, we've got this trade deal with Canada and Mexico. We may renegotiate it. We may abandon the trade deal. He is leaving everything on the table. And from that point of view, when you see Mark Carney there, really trying to say what he could with the body language, right? Basically saying that Donald Trump owes him in terms of the election. He got him elected, and he turned apparently and said, oh yeah, right. Listen, that is what we've been hearing from the Prime Minister's office. Make no mistake, Donna, Prime Minister Carney does respect this president. And when he says he's transformational, he means it. That does not mean there will not be collateral damage in both Canada and the United States if that's the way this relationship goes forward. Look, the expectations weren't very high in this meeting, I can tell you from Canadian officials. So far, so okay from the Oval Office. I'm sure behind closed doors things will get better. But again, no one should be under illusions here. This is going to be a very long negotiations, and both Americans themselves and American businesses should not be shocked about what happens next.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, let me turn to you, and I just want to put a finer point on what Paula was saying when it comes to one of the basic fact checks about the economic and trade relationship between the U.S. and Canada. First and foremost, even this year alone, I'm told that the U.S. exports to Canada made up 17% of U.S. exports. But what you're looking at there, that's 2024. These are U.S. exports to Canada. So it's the Canadians buying American goods and
they're trying to do this dumb stuff.
$349.4 billion. It is the highest except for the EU, which is not on this. So it is.
And Trump wants to pull this nonsense on Canada. Bro, they're spending the most money. There's no words for this at all. The man's arrogant. He's being too arrogant, not being respectful. Like, come on, man. Bro, you can't do this. Then you're talking to your best customer like they're nobody and you don't need them. What? Where they do that at?
Is a fact that the United States benefits greatly from Canada buying the U.S. goods. Kevin.
Right. And that's part of why it's so striking to hear the language that the president uses when he's talking about Canada. As you mentioned before, this meeting started relatively cordially. And in fact, when someone asked the president whether they would discuss this idea of Canada becoming the 51st American state, he tried to downplay it, saying that it wouldn't be a part of the conversation. And then he proceeded to talk at length about why he thinks it would be advantageous for Canada to become a part of the United States. And it was in a lot of ways hard for Carney to get a word in edgewise there. And you did note his body language. I was noting particularly when the president was going after, he didn't name her, but Chrystia Freeland, the former finance minister, saying that she was a terrible negotiator, talking about this experience negotiating the USMCA. He kind of had a pained look on his face. If I were can do this, I would like to pull out one more, I think, important piece of news out of this meeting, which is what the president said at the very, very beginning when it comes to the Houthi rebels in Yemen. He says that they, in his words, have capitulated. He says that they don't want to fight anymore. He says that they've agreed to stop blowing up ships. And in the president's words, he's accepting the Houthis at their words, and that the U.S. will end this bombing campaign that had been ongoing since March 15th. So I guess 52 days that this bombing has been ongoing, trying to decimate that Iran-backed rebel group. Now the president saying that there is some sort of agreement to end the tensions, and we are getting some reporting in about exactly what's happening here. We understand that Steve Witkoff, the president's foreign envoy, worked through the Omanis. Remember, that's the Gulf state nation that the U.S. is also working with to try and negotiate a new deal with Iran to come to this arrangement to end the strikes on the Houthi rebels in Yemen. In a lot of ways, this campaign by the Americans has been tough going. You know, the Houthis have still been able to shoot down 7 multi-million-dollar drones. There was that incident last week when the Houthis fired on the USS Harry Truman in the Red Sea. It had to turn so hard that a fighter jet fell off the ship. So this campaign had been tough going in a lot of ways, and now the president announcing that there could be an agreement to bring it to an end. I think 2 big questions here is, one, does this create momentum for a broader deal with Iran that the president has been pushing for? And 2, does this agreement include a ceasefire with Israel, which just today had been targeting, you know, the main airport in Yemen? That had been in retaliation for the Houthis striking the main airport in Israel. So a lot of questions there. But I think a significant announcement from the president at the start of this meeting.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Kevin.
That's crazy. Yeah, they need to knock it off.
And he,
knock it off.
in his inimitable way, teased the fact that there could be a different announcement on a different deal in the coming days, not about trade. He made that very clear. So the other potential areas in which there could be a deal point to the Middle East. So that kind of speaks to what you were just wondering, whether what he announced on the Houthis could maybe pave the way for something else.
Knock it off, yeah. Your boy Pete Hegseth, JD Vance, celebrating on Signal about the Houthis, and it looks like y'all are having trouble with the Houthis. Oh man, there's nothing to celebrate here. You know, all that nonsense, leaks and all that. It's just this whole presidential campaign and all the stuff that's been involved in it. It's just a whole bunch of, you know, I don't want to say the word, but it's a SHIT show, straight up. And I can't believe Trump would try to disregard and disrespect his biggest supporter. Like, Canada is the biggest supporter of the United States. They're your number one customer, and you're trying to act like you don't need them. You want to do stuff so you won't have to need. Come on, man, do your business, bro. Do the business. Do what's supposed to be right. If you ruin that relationship, that $300 billion get taken down. You're gonna listen. America's gonna feel it. They're already feeling it from this nonsense that you started. You know, the travel, not travel agent, but the travel. You know, the traveling part of the United States. They're feeling it, man. All these tours from other countries, not booking flights. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. So. Let me know what you got thought. Listen here, Mark Carney, I respect you, my friend. You really stood up in the Oval Office and said it 3 times. It should have been only 1 time because, you know, that's all it needs to be said. But you said it 3 times. This country is not for sale, man. Canada is not for sale, ever. Respect to you guys, man. And shout out to Canada, man. I'll see you guys in the next video.